truth is, I'm not really my normal self today. I'm pretty cold, the light wasn't really working, and we're just going to talk about something random, right? Something most people, well, some people might want to do. I've seen this whole wave of hybrid training recently, where people, their progress in the gym is slowing down, they decide, I want something else. So, we're going to talk about something else, and we're going to talk about becoming an Olympian. Now, when I say Olympian, I'm not talking about, stepping up onto the stage, being the next pro bodybuilder. I'm talking about the Olympics, specifically the 2028 Olympics. So this is going to be like something you could start doing realistically really, really soon to have a chance of joining the 2028 Olympics. Maybe not winning, but being able to say, I am a hybrid athlete. I was in the Olympics, whatever, blah, 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 some street cred, right? So, this is a bit of an old article, actually, so the news isn't very fresh, but it's still interesting. I think this actually was like August 10th when they announced this. I can't remember. But the point is, a new sport is going to be in the next 2028 Olympics. A sport which doesn't have any world records, I guess. Well, technically it does, but on the Olympic stage, doesn't have any world records. It hasn't been something we've really done before. It hasn't been something where we even know what sort of numbers we're trying to shoot for. And the strategy is going to be all different, right? Because someone who's doing, let's say, a 1 kilometer rowing, I spoiled what it's going to be, but someone who's doing something which is a kilometer, very different play from someone who's doing it for 2 kilometers. Anyway, let's get into the bulk of it. So, this video is for people who dreamed of being an Olympian, which, to be honest, when I was younger, I did. And this potentially might be a moment for people. Best thing is that pretty much all gyms have a machine which actually enable you to do this. At least where I am. In the UK, this is a really, really popular sport, one people love, so the machine's always there. It might not be the same in different countries. Again, there's going to be cultural changes. I don't know if it's a cultural thing or not, but that's not the point. Sometimes there are moments where you realise that when you stay conditioned, you get opportunities. So, let's set the stage. There's a lot of stages in this one. Historically, Olympic rowing has been 2,000 meters for like this sort of longer distance, and they're decreasing it to 1.5 thousand meters. Now, this is really interesting because no one really cares about setting the world record, at least back when I did this newsletter originally. Go subscribe to the newsletter in the channel down below, by the way. When I first wrote about this, there was literally no public world record for the distance. I don't know if it exists now. It might exist, but that's not really the point. The thing is, when these records aren't set, it should make someone excited. Like, it made me excited when I looked into this. And it's something that made me switch my cardio, at least some of my cardio, to using the rowing machine to just see what happens. Because if I stay consistent at it and I keep pushing myself, eventually I might reach a point where it might be worth it. So, this is all you need to become an Olympian. Of course, there's lots of different types of Olympic sports, but this is one of the best things right now. The best bit. There are 4 years to prepare, because the Olympics is in 4 years. This is like, when people say the best time to start doing something was in the past, and the second best time is now, this is kind of what it is. Like, the best time to start doing this, because we can't go back in time, is right now. So we've got 4 years, and as cardio is something that we should be doing anyway, it doesn't really hurt to switch to a rowing machine. Part of the reason onto this building, I don't think I wrote it in here, but some cardios are more fatiguing than others, because any ones that have a eccentric, kind of like, when we're lowering the bench in the bench press, that's an eccentric. We're not putting a ton of effort, but there's a lot of muscle damage from that stretch. When we're doing some cardios, like running, or I guess running is the biggest example I'm going to use. When we're doing running, we have a lowering phase, especially when there's not too high of an incline, especially if there's a decline, if we're like running down hills on terrain or whatever. And that lowering phase, because we don't actually have any effort and we're just letting our body come down, we're actually having more fatigue from the cardio compared to something like if we were cycling on a bike or using an elliptical, when everything you do is effort. It's push, 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 push on all your bodies. There's no lowering. You're just going through the movements, and it's very low on fatigue. But that's besides the point. Rowing is good for that. And anyway, there are settings that I have found which let you mimic the water as close as possible. A lot of people gatekeep these. I'm not going to gatekeep them. I'm going to tell them to you. So, for the feels like water settings, there'll be a slider. It's, I don't know if you can see, but on the rowing machine, it's like a circle. That circle will have a slider, and you're trying to get it to number 7 on there. And then you can go in, you can beep 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 on like the display, and you will turn the drag somewhere in the range of 110 to 130, and that's mimicking water. That's all you got to do. So before I go into like benchmarks, where you're trying to get to, how to train, track progress or whatever, a really important thing to cover is the fact that no one actually has any idea on how on earth rowing works. Look, you might not know how to, or you might think you know how to, or who cares, right? We're going to go through it anyway. But every time I enter a gym, every time I look over to the rowing section, I've never seen anyone doing this properly. It's a difficult movement because no one teaches you the movement, and you have to figure out yourself, and what makes sense to do oftentimes is wrong, especially with this one. Like, it's kind of like trying to do an Olympic lift on your own. You're not going to nail the form. A squat, a bench press, a deadlift, even a lat pull down. We've all gone into the gym, and you know this seems like a fairly easy movement, and we've seen people butchering it. Even a lat pull down, we've seen that be butchered way too many times. So odds are a row is not being done properly, and this is why I got the diagram. So the first thing we do is we have at the end, we're literally only moving our legs. We're moving our legs to like almost a soft lockout, and then when we've got that soft lockout, then we row. Okay, that's when our arms are moving backwards whilst holding onto this bar. It's not happening at the same time. It's two separate movements. Legs push, and then we pull. And then we release, we let that come back, and then we bring ourselves back. There is literally no going it all together. And don't get me wrong, when you do it more and more, it becomes very fluid. It feels like it's all one movement, but it isn't. You're never pushing with your legs the same time you're pulling with your arms or your back. It just doesn't happen. And yeah, even the diagrams on Google don't explain it properly, apparently. I think the reason for that is if we actually look at this, we can't see them showing that you bring the arms back before you come back. That's really interesting. And I know I use this visual as a demonstration, but I explain it down here because of the fact that the images we see aren't even true. But anyway, over time, it won't feel weird. It'll be dynamic. If you have to unlearn it to relearn this, it's going to feel really, really strange at first. And it's actually going to take you a lot longer than someone who's doing it, who doesn't even done it before, to relearn it, because you have to unlearn the bad belief to relearn the good one. It's like a lot of the hypertrophy science, a lot of the muscle growth science we have. It's really, really, really difficult to get a good start because you have to unlearn all these bad things in your mind which are tricking you. And half of the stuff I have to do is actually getting rid of those for people. So if you want to get rid of some of those misconceptions, which are everywhere, literally 95% of the stuff I see is a myth. If you want to get rid of those, perfect place to go is here. Just subscribe and watch some videos. But yeah, if you've been doing it wrong for a long time, you're going to have to relearn this form. I'm so sorry. And the reason this form is so important is how we get the most power, the most speed, which is obviously important if you're trying to break some records. I think I'd have to explain that one. That one, I'll let you guess on your own. But yeah, it's definitely got to be done. And now that we've dialed in this form, you could even like bookmark this video or come back to it later or keep watching. But either way, the way you're going to do things is kind of in parts, because we wouldn't go trying to break a world record before we got the form nailed down. But let's actually talk about that, Los Angeles 2028. Let's talk about what can go. So the best thing you can do when you've got that form down is you can do a benchmark, and that benchmark should be testing your 500 meters against a 2000 meter racer's 500 meter pace. Now, this is a humbling experience. It was very humbling for me, but it lets us kind of take a distance which is further where someone's supposed to be slower and see how close we can get to the relative distance we've done, which is a shorter distance where it's supposed to be faster. So you hop on the rower, you go as explosively as possible with the right form, and you reach to 500 meters, and then we have a look at what you did. Now, if you managed 500 meters in under, or meeting, 1 minute and 19 seconds, then you have reached the 1000 meter, 500 meter world record pace. What that means is someone was able to keep that pace for 2 500 meters next to each other. So if that's something you managed to get, your machine is broken, because it's literally so close to the world record for the distance of actual 500 meters that no, you can't be that much of an inhuman specimen the first time you step onto that rower. I'm so sorry. So, I don't know what this is. Who knows? But anyway, here's what you need to know. For 2,000 meters, the 500 meter kind of split world record pace is 1 minute and 24 meters. Oh my goodness, this so many M means so many M because I'm using M everywhere with these numbers. That was not something I understood when I wrote this, so I have no idea if anyone who read this understood what it meant. I swear, my newsletters are normally very high value and very easy to understand. I don't know what was happening with this one. It's only my jokes which get people confused for the most part. But yeah, this is the world records. And the world record is actually very, very hard to get for obvious reasons. But it doesn't mean if we don't meet a world record or come close to it that we can't go to the Olympics. So I've kind of showed this chart here, the Olympians who just competed, and they had a 1 minute and 55 minute pace. So yeah, if we want to compete, then we don't have to do this 1 minute 24 or whatever. We can just be closer to that. That's your competition when you're going to the gym. So I think the first thing you need to do is set a goal of a 1 minute and 42 second pace. When you've conquered that for 500 meters, you can work your way to 1,000 meters and then 1,500 meters. The way you're going to be doing this is definitely going to be balancing a lot of different, durations and lengths and distances and all-out attempts to see what's going on. I'll go into how I'd actually program in it a little bit, but this is not going to be something that's easy. It's honestly just a side quest, something to stop your boredom when you're doing cardio, give it a little bit of a long-term goal. It's a fun thing to do. Committing yourself to this maybe means you're going to qualify in 4 years. I don't know. But obviously this is very low fatiguing. We're not getting interference, which is going to hurt the growth. It can be better than running. You can slap on most of the stands, have like something for your phone so you can watch stuff. But this is my basic approach that I recommend usually. 150 minutes of cardio a week minimum, and you have 80% of that time in zone 2 and 20% of the time in zone 4 or 5. So if you know the 80-20 rule, let's get this open. It's basically a rule where effort-wise, the 20% of the effort, 80% of the result, 80% of the effort, 20% of the results. That's not actually what we're using here. It's just a coincidence. But 80% of the time being in zone 2 is actually going to probably result in 80% of the gains. 80% of those cardio gains. And 20% is going to be a lot more fatiguing, but it's going to be pretty good too. And that's going to be more so pushing yourself on those short distances and really being as explosive as possible. And the 80% is more about giving you that cardio baseline and practicing the movement over and over and over. The 20% is going to suck, but the 20% is what's going to set you aside as actually being fast and being able to, boom, get that power out. So if you do this, if you follow this newsletter, you can also go down and like save it on your phone if you don't want to come back to the video because you don't like me, or you could subscribe and keep coming to videos. I don't care either way. No, I do care. I think it'd be nicer to subscribe. But if you want focused advice outside of cardio, outside of Olympics, send me an email. You literally just sign up for my newsletter and you can reply to it and you get right to me. You can also leave comments down below. You can also go watch other videos or go on my website, poolefitness.com, and you can see things about questions you might have. And last but not least, after saying please subscribe, do not do the cardio sessions before your weights, because if you do, you'll perform worse. Well, thank you for watching. I know that was self-explanatory. I'll see you tomorrow.